Hey, come here. I got a question for you. Why would you eat biscuits out of a can when you could do this? Welcome to Cooking with Ruth. Before we get started, I just want to run through the ingredients that you'll need to make Peg's homemade biscuits. I start with all-purpose unbleached flour. The reason for that is I believe that it's better for you, and you actually get to control the amount of leavening that goes into the flour. So for that leavening, I use baking powder and just a pinch of baking soda. I use granulated salt, granulated sugar. I use organic granulated sugar. Again, I think it's better for you. I use shortening, and then you add buttermilk and just a little bit of regular milk. And I'll show you how to put all of these things together to make Peg's homemade South Carolina buttermilk biscuits. When you see this red apron, all right, so I start with 2 cups. They could be kind of heaping of all-purpose flour. And I do 3 heaping teaspoons of baking powder, 3/4 of a teaspoon or so of salt, and then I do a pinch of baking soda. And my mom always said, I don't know the science behind it necessarily, but she always said when you were using the buttermilk, you should put a pinch of baking soda. Combine those ingredients. So once you get them well mixed, then you go into the center and you create a little well. So you just want to basically create a hole in the middle, and then you're done with that for now. In a separate bowl, you add about 3/4 of a cup of buttermilk, and then you finish it the rest of the way with regular milk. Pretty level on this teaspoon. I usually don't put like a heaping amount. And you put the sugar into the milk, and you want to dissolve the sugar in the milk. So you might have to stir it for 2 to 3 minutes, whatever it takes. You'll stir it until you stop hearing the grains of sugar at the bottom. While I'm mixing this milk, I guess I could share like a little bit of our experience with these biscuits. We were always excited as kids when my mother made these biscuits, and sometimes it'd be a surprise, sometimes it'd be an expectation. But whenever she made biscuits, we were super excited about it. And what you learn about these biscuits is, your first try may not go like you want it to go. You'll have to work with a little bit and get your technique down. But these biscuits go well with anything. They go well with savory. They go well with sweet. So if you want to get some jam or some jelly, some preserves, eggs, sausage, rice and gravy, grits, whatever the case is, these biscuits add an awesome complement to it. I got my dry put together. I got the sugar dissolved into the milk. And what I'm going to do now is just kind of take a few moments and clean up my cooking area. One of the things that I pride myself on is cleaning as I go. Some of my friends kind of rag me over it and give me a hard time. But the cool part about cleaning as you go is once you get done and you got your food, you can just go eat, and you don't have to worry about going back after to clean the kitchen or whatever. So I'm going to clean up my workspace here, only leave out the ingredients that we need to finish this off, and we'll go from there. All right, so once you get to this stage in your process where you got the dry ingredients combined, you got your well made, you got the sugar dissolved in the milk, you're ready to add your shortening to the well. Before you do that, let's talk about how long you cook the biscuits and how you cook them. So you want to preheat your oven to 400 degrees. So I'm going to do that now, if I can see. All right. So we'll let that heat up while we're doing the combining of the shortening and the milk. You cook it for 10 minutes, put it in the oven, you bake it for 10 minutes at 400. Then you turn the oven up to broil, and then you want to watch it, because all you're really doing at that point is browning the top. So normally what I do is I'll switch it to broil, set the timer for 2 minutes, just in case I forget. And then just kind of keep peeking at it until they get to the right level of golden brown crustiness that you want for your Peg's biscuits. One thing that you'll need in order to make good biscuits is you got to have an ugly biscuit pan. I mean, this thing, you look at this thing, it's got some spots on it. Man, I don't know what that was. What is this? It's got to be ugly. My mama biscuit pan at home, I can go to it right now in South Carolina and grab it. That thing looked like it's got about 10 years of carbon built up on it. But the biscuits that came off of that sucker melt in your mouth. So get you an ugly pan. If you got a new pan, ding it up, make some caramel on it or something. Something you can't get off of it, because you need an ugly biscuit pan. Yep. All right, so to the well in the center, I don't measure this because, again, I've been kind of doing this for a while, but I'm going to call it 1.25 cups to 1.5 cups of shortening. That's about good right there. And then you begin to add the mixed milk and sugar solution. And what you want to do is take your spoon and start to break up the shortening, combine it with the milk, and also what you're doing is pulling in the flour from the sides. Keep breaking it up, keep kind of forming it together until you'll get something that starts to resemble a dough here in a bit. And then you go in there, as they used to say in South Carolina, then you can go in there with your hands. That's hands. That's the translation. For those of you who don't understand South Carolinian, get in there with your hands and start to mix it. Every time I do this, my mama used to do this. It makes me think of my mom. She would scrape the extra stuff off the spoon, put that in the middle. And then I'm going to start pulling in the flour with my hands. And I said earlier that I may have added a little bit too much shortening. The cool thing about this is once you get to this point, you can also just add flour to kind of balance things out. So if you need to add a little bit of all-purpose flour from the bag, you can do that too. So no need to panic. It's better to put a little bit too much than to not put enough. Y'all looking at this thing, y'all like, hey, this dude been making these. He know what he doing. Yeah, you're exactly right. I've been doing this a long time. All right, so I'm starting to feel it get to the consistency that I know is going to deliver some of them Peg's homemade biscuits. Then you want to get your ugly biscuit pan, which I don't have around. So now I need to go get it. Excuse me, 1 second. All right, we back. We got the ugly biscuit pan in position. And what you want to do, again, this is going to be trial and error, and it's okay. You'll get to the point where you get this the way you want it. You get a ball of dough. You want to roll it around in your hands. Kind of get it to form that ball and place it in your pan. Another ball of dough. It's got a little bit too much in it. I usually kind of roll it around in a little bit of that flour left from the side. That still needs a little bit more. Add that to the pan. All right, once you get the biscuits formed into balls, then you want to come back and press them down. So I usually kind of start with 3 fingers. I took my gloves off because I'm not used to making my biscuits with gloves. But anyway, I start with 3 fingers and I just kind of press them down until they touch. And don't worry about, it being perfect right now. You just want to kind of press them into place. And then I come back with the palm of my hand and I press them down even further. So, and then you can kind of start to focus on the edges a little bit. You kind of start to focus on the shape, but you really don't want to have any fingerprints on the biscuit when you get done. So you want to try to get rid of those indentions caused by your fingers. From that point, you're ready to go into the oven. And now we have our biscuits formed and we're ready to put them into the oven. We're gonna set the timer for 10 minutes. All right, folks, now we are coming down to the end of our 10 minutes. What we're gonna do now is we'll go ahead and stop the timer before we get there. We wanna stop it from baking, take it to broil, and then we wanna get it broiling and then set the timer for 2 minutes just so we don't overdo the top. All right, we took our Peg's homemade South Carolina style buttermilk biscuits out of the oven. Ideally, you cover these with a sheet of paper towel or 2 and let them cool for maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Sometimes though, you got to get right into it. So let's check these biscuits out. It's got a nice golden brown top, nice brown bottom. And get a close up on this thing, man. Let me break this thing open. See some. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. It gets you a little bit of syrup going. Bruh. Bruh. This is why you don't eat biscuits out of a can. Lord have mercy.
Thank you for watching Cooking with Roof.